What's up, everybody? And today we're checking out the shocking end of the most inhumane Nazi commander. This is by Dark Docs. I absolutely love Dark Docs. I think they do incredible mini documentaries, very informative and very well edited and put together. So if you want to watch their videos without me waffling over the top, down in the description you will see it in the first part of the description. So please go down and check their channel out because they are honestly fantastic. What do I have to say before we get started? Oh, don't forget, there is a questionnaire down below. There's a really cool new project I'm working on with this team of people, and it's incredibly exciting. It's going to be massive. It's going to be really big. It could even be bigger than this channel one day, which I'm hoping for. And so if you haven't already, go and fill out the questionnaire. It would be really helpful for me. And then at the very end of it, it asks for your email. If you want to do that and get updates on what this project is, because it's going to be, I'm going to be showing it on the channel, but it's going to be separate, okay? So if you want to know what it is and kind of follow that progress, then you can go and do that as well. But I'm very excited to show you what that's all about. Very excited. Anything else I need to say? I don't think so. I don't think there's anything else. Other than that, let's shut up. Let's pull this up and let's find out what's going on over here. My presumption is it might be in subtitles, so... Well, Dark Docs usually isn't, but because it's old footage, there might be some subtitles like this. So I'm going to keep this on for now, okay?
SS Obergruppenführer Dr. Hans Kammler.
What a name! Obergruppenführer.
SS Obergruppenführer
Dr. Okay.
Dr. Hans Kammler.
Holy.
One of the most influential leaders of Nazi Germany. Imposing, ingenious, and rampantly power-hungry, he was one of the architects.
Oh, just to let you guys know as well, I still have a bit of a cold, so if I'm sounding nasally and I'm wiping my nose, I do apologize, okay?
Behind the Nazi concentration camps, director of the top-secret V2 rocket
Oh my
initiative,
god.
and the master of Germany's late-war emergency fighter programs.
What an evil person.
A shrewd and calculating SS commander consolidated massive power as the Nazi regime crumbled into pieces around him. And even Hitler's chief architect, Albert Speer, called him, quote, Hitler's most brutal and most ruthless henchman.
Oh.
But just as his power and ambition reached their zenith in the latter years of the war, the Machiavellian SS commander mysteriously disappeared from the face of the earth.
Oh, okay. That's weird.
Conflicting reports as to his whereabouts emerged across the lands. Some claimed he had fallen in battle, while others affirmed he had taken a cyanide pill along with his wife.
Have you ever heard of the weird, like, conspiracy that Hitler and a bunch of other Nazis went and lived in Argentina? Have you heard about that weird conspiracy? I don't know much about it, but it's a strange one. Maybe it's a possibility. Who knows? Who knows? I don't want to fall down the rabbit hole of conspiracies, though.
She later denied it, raising concerns of a possible escape or secret negotiation with the Allies.
Weird.
However, there were also those who claimed the man made it to the United States,
Whoa.
where he reportedly met a fate much worse than cyanide.
Can you imagine? So they don't know what happened to him? Oh, Dark Docs are so good. They're so good. If you're not subscribed to Dark Docs, I don't know what you're doing. Because some of these little documentaries they put out are fantastic, aren't they? They're like a mix between horror, paranormal, while also being grounded in reality. Like, it's almost as if it's so bizarre and such a fascinating story, a weird story, that it could be horror and like a paranormal, but it's not.
Rise of a villain. Hans Kammler started his career as an aspiring engineer, eager to leave his mark on a struggling German nation. From his youth, he was an exceedingly patriotic man who had missed the opportunity to serve during World War I. In 1919, he joined the Rossbach Freikorps, one of many private right-wing paramilitary factions that sprung up after the war. As part of the militant group, Kammler participated in the brutal fight against German communist blocs for control in the unstable Weimar Republic.
It's crazy how it got to that point in Germany, isn't it? Like, this fascism and horrible race war, basically, just slowly rised in German politics, and the whole situation is fascinating how it got to that point.
He then enthusiastically joined the Nazi Party in 1931 and the SS 2 years later.
It's terrifying, isn't it?
Charismatic and well-educated, Kammler quickly climbed the hierarchy ladder and rose from head of the building department to deputy chief of the SS's main economic and administration office. In his new position, he oversaw the financial supply and the business projects for the SS state, and the construction and operation of the many concentration camps built across the Reich. As the man in charge, he was quick to suggest a new and harrowing solution to manage the camp's populations, overseeing the construction of crematorium buildings.
Oh my God. Imagine hearing that in that room. Oh, so much evil. Like, people don't realize how bad it actually was. Like, I've watched documentaries and read books about it. It is pure evil. Like, to the point that you can't... I honestly don't even know how these people thought that this would... Like, that this is okay. Like, what environment do these people have to grow up in and be around people that makes them think this sort of behavior is okay? It's so weird and just... Like, it's hard to put it into words, isn't it? How horrible it actually is.
His work eventually led him to participate in the secret weapons programs of the Third Reich, where he was tasked with constructing remote underground facilities where the newest Nazi Wunderwaffe would be developed and produced. Then, in 1942, he began overseeing production plants and test facilities for the V-2 rocket and the new Messerschmitt Me-262 jet. Resolute and wholly dedicated to his work, he was soon promoted to operation and weapon development.
Jeez.
Seizing power.
So he gained power relatively quickly. Like, he went up the ranks pretty quickly to get to this point.
The V-1 and V-2 rocket development facilities were built in underground facilities connected to concentration camps, from where Kammler could tap into an unending source of slave labor.
Wow.
The general showed no mercy for his prisoners, and often worked them to their demise. When it was suggested to him to improve the conditions of the workers, he would notoriously say, quote, "Don't worry about the victims. The work must proceed ahead in the shortest time possible."
I don't understand how why didn't some of them officers see this whole situation and be like, this is, like, how did they not, like, think that they're doing evil? Like, how did they, like, all these officers that are guiding them, that are moving them between places, that are using them as slaves, did it not once cross their mind that, like, maybe they're doing something really, really evil here? Like, I honestly don't understand. I don't understand how it got to that point and these people thought that this was normal and okay. Like, the transition it must have taken over time to get to that point it should be studied like crazy. I mean, I'm sure it is studied like crazy so that it never happens again. You hear, like, Nazis popping up here and there, like in America and stuff. Like, you see videos of them walking down the streets of white supremacists and stuff, and it's like, how did they get, like, what upbringing did they have to get to that point? To not have empathy for all living beings. Like, it just makes no sense to me. It makes no sense.
As Kammler became increasingly more crucial in the Nazi efforts, he was forced to operate under Albert Speer, Hitler's Minister of Armaments and War Production. Speer appointed Kammler as his representative for particular construction tasks and considered him an ally. However, Kammler didn't like receiving orders from Speer and wanted his post and authority above all else. After working under Speer for close to a year, Kammler persuaded Hermann Göring, head of the Luftwaffe, to appoint him the director of special buildings under the fighter aircraft program. The move completely undermined Speer's authority and position, even more so as the war approached its final stage. By then, Hitler had become more desperate and reckless, and the extensive power hierarchy of the Third Reich began to collapse and centralize into fewer individuals.
Yeah, there must have been panic starting to set in at that point. If you think about it, like, D-Day would have already happened. France would be slowly being taken back by the Allies. Like, at this point, they would be panicking like crazy, wouldn't they, about what to do? Which is mental considering how much they actually achieved up until that point. Like, how successful they actually were. Because they were close. They were close to just taking the whole of Europe. Like, if it wasn't for, like, the Battle of Britain and the Eastern Front, geez.
After persuading Hitler to transfer the V-2 program to the SS, Heinrich Himmler appointed Kammler to lead the missile operations, and he soon launched the V2 campaign against the Allies. Then, on January 31st, 1945, Hitler appointed Kammler as the head of all missile projects. However, the shortage of explosives had reached a critical level, and the program was slowly shutting down. Hitler then transferred aircraft support, maintenance, and supply duties from Hermann Göring to Kammler, making him the Führer's general plenipotentiary for jet aircraft in early April. In just a few months, Kammler had become one of the most powerful commanders in the decaying Nazi regime.
It's mental, isn't it? It's all about power. It's all about people wanting more and more power than they need. That's all it is. That's all it's ever been. And it still is today. People in power want more power. And that's all it is, isn't it? And it's terrifying. It's horrible what people will do to get to that point.
The hunt. As the Wehrmacht structure began to collapse before the unrelenting advance of the Allied forces in the east and the west, the pressure took its toll on Kammler, who became even more ruthless and despicable. In late March of 1945, he ordered his men to execute over 200 workers after his car was held up on a busy road in the Sauerland and he suspected foul play.
Wow.
As Germany became increasingly engulfed by chaos, Kammler began to move from one place to another, fleeing from Allied spies and troops, and from his superiors, whose orders he often disobeyed.
That retreat and pushback must have been, like, really, really worrying for them. Like, the panic that must be setting on. And this is why they were doing so many different projects, because they really was like, oh, no, we need to stop this. The momentum was already on the Allied side at this point, wasn't it, to be fair?
Throughout the ordeal, Kammler desperately tried to move his missile program to different locations, but his personal forces were eventually ordered to join the German infantry. An erratic Kammler then began disregarding direct orders, abandoning the Nordhausen facility, and sending the valuable scientists and technicians into hiding as he disappeared. Even so, thanks to highly disputed British records stemming from Operation Little Foxley, which actively sought to assassinate him, historians could get a glimpse at the SS commander's last days in Germany.
Holy crap. So they actually tried to assassinate him, and because of that, we've got the records on what actually happened. Instead of the start that we don't even know where he went, which is almost more terrifying. Like, we don't know what happened to him. He could have got away with this and been living a life somewhere until the day he died. Like, that's, like, the injustice in that is mental.
Locating the general. In April of 1945, Kammler and his staff were targeted for assassination, but managed to survive the massive Royal Air Force airstrikes that took the lives of 8,600 people in the Nordhausen area.
Wow.
Kammler and his team drove to safety, and on the 13th, he was reportedly in Munich for a meeting with Albert Speer.
Wow.
It is said that Kammler and his staff then arrived at the Linderhof Palace, near an extensive underground SS lair and the Messerschmitt 262 jet aircraft factory in Oberammergau.
I almost bet that all the offers at this point were looking for a way out. Like, I bet they all had, like, an option if it wasn't going to work out, and it looked like it wasn't going to work, so they all had an escape plan. I guarantee, because they weren't dumb people. They knew what they were doing. They had very questionable practices on how to do it, but they had, I almost guarantee they all had a way out in some way.
While there, they reportedly hid tons of research documents and swiftly moved to avoid the British commandos hunting them.
Hell yes, my
The group
boys,
is said
getting
to have
them.
moved again on April 28th to Avon in Austria, where they were located near a concentration camp that had been using its prisoners to construct an underground armament storage facility. Then, on May 3rd and 4th, just 4 days before the final German surrender, Kammler and his staff set out for Prague, the capital of Czechoslovakia, which was still under German occupation. Kammler and his driver, Friedrich Baum, eventually separated from the main convoy, and his trail went cold from that point on.
Wow, that's mental. So he definitely had a plan. He definitely had a massive plan on how to get out of there. Jeez. It almost makes me, like, I'm infuriated. Like, what? How did he escape?
The British reported to have heard from Kammler one last time on May 7th, when he sent a message to a surviving SS group in hiding, but anything after that cannot be confirmed.
Wow.
The man who vanished. The story goes that Kammler and Baum made it to Prague, but were caught up in the Czech uprising against the German occupation. It is said that Kammler was shot in the left knee, taken to the hospital, and then ended by Czech partisans when the hospital was overrun.
Well, that would. So
However,
that hasn't been
records show
confirmed
that
then?
a senior army sergeant named Frederica Baum, who was of a similar grade and had a similar injury, was admitted to a military hospital in Komintern, Austria on May 23rd, after being shot in the knee in Prague on May 4th. Baum succumbed to an infection 6 days later.
Okay.
Some historians have speculated that Kammler changed into an army uniform and adopted Baum's identity, claiming that he had then attempted to escape the after-war chaos, but eventually succumbed to blood poisoning and was put to rest in a mass grave.
I mean, you hope so, don't you? But the fact that it's not being confirmed is just like so frustrating. Like you want this person to be really held accountable for what he did, don't you? And yet he's just disappeared. Oh, we just don't know if he died or not.
Another story is that Kammler ended his life while on the run. Some of his cohorts initially declared that he had escaped to be with his wife in Ebensee, where both consumed cyanide tablets to end their lives. Other people working for the fugitive reported that Kammler and members of his staff left Prague on May 9th, after which he either shot or poisoned himself and was buried by his loyal team in an unmarked grave. However, in 1949, a U.S. counterintelligence corps agent working on denazification refuted this story, stating that Kammler had actually been captured by the Americans in May of 1945, but escaped shortly after and made his way to East Germany, where he began working for the Soviets.
Oh my God, can you imagine if he went over to the Soviets and he was working there? This is the thing, there's so many different conflicting stories about what happened to him. Like, could he have just lived until an old age? That's almost more terrifying than anything else.
To this day, there is still much conjecture surrounding the fate of Kammler, including the possibility that he faked his own demise and was actually in secret custody with the Western Allies or the Soviets.
Wow.
Unsettling theories.
Oh God, these are the unsettling theories. None of the other ones that they already spoke. This is why I said Dark Docs are so good, because just when you think that it's like getting incredibly frustrating and it's making you angry, it does something like this. Unsettling theories. Like the rest of it wasn't unsettling in the first place. Jesus Christ.
Many analysts believe the entire Prague story was fabricated to provide a plausible scenario for his final fate in the soon-to-be Soviet occupation zone, where no proper investigation could ever be carried out.
Right.
Moreover, the lack of urgency with which the Allies searched for Kammler immediately after the war led many to believe that they already had him in custody and didn't want the Soviets to know. Additionally, many historians find it rather suspicious that Kammler's name was not mentioned in the numerous Berg trials and the 35,000 pages of testimony and evidence it produced.
Yeah, that's a massive red flag there, isn't it?
Notably, the Allies seemed uninterested in hunting down the missing SS commander, going as far as complying with his wife's demand of declaring him officially deceased, even when there was no concrete evidence to support the claim.
Yeah, that's weird.
Another possible scenario was suggested by an OSS officer who claimed that Kammler was taken to the US and held captive until 1947. The disturbing report claims that the SS commander was brutally punished and tortured in a secret location, and that he was, quote, interned at a place of maximum security, with no hope, no mercy, and without seeing the light of day until he hanged himself.
I don't think that would be the case. I feel like it would have been leaked out that he was captured if that was the case. I think he either died in the combat, or he's ghosted. He's just done one and he's living in another country, or lived in another country.
2 reports from declassified U.S. files seem to back this story, indicating that Kammler was in American custody as of May 30th, 1945.
Oh, okay.
With one document listing him among senior German Air Force personnel.
Oh, so maybe that is true then.
Kammler's capture is further documented in another file dated July 10th, 1945, as one of the prisoners being interrogated.
Oh, so maybe they did catch him then.
Despite the evidence, the ultimate fate of Hans Kammler remains unknown, with many historians suggesting he committed suicide while in U.S. custody in 1947, while others believe he ultimately evaded justice for his crimes.
There's no way he evaded justice for his crimes. No way. No way. I don't believe that. Oh my God. Dark Docs, as always, pulling off one of the best documentary, small YouTube videos that I've watched in a long time. Absolutely brilliant. Terrifying, worrying, frustrating. some people are just like honestly pure evil, aren't they? Like and again, it just baffles me how people got every baby, in my opinion, is innocent, right? When you're born, you're a baby, you're an innocent, right? But you have to have had a certain life, certain events in your life to get to the point that these individuals get to, and it's that is just bizarre, isn't it? And terrifying. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Don't forget, though, if you want to watch the video without me waffling over the top, it's in the description down below. If you also want to go and do that questionnaire, it's down below as well. Other than that, that's it. I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.